right, so today we are in the Good and Trustworthy Servant, part 16. Which is also just focusing on Trustworthy, part 5. Okay, so within that teaching. Now, some of you are thinking, well, I thought he was just going to do something special because it's unleavened bread. Trust me, this is going to be related. Trust me? Let's see if it fits in, Trustworthy. All right, so you came here. This is a good way to start, I think. Do you trust that when you came here that you're going to hear what you're supposed to hear? So, because I know sometimes, by the way, you think this is kind of strange? You should have come to the feast when I was up to Heart of the Matter, part 47. And you're thinking, we're in the middle of a feast. Why are you talking about part 47 or something? Because that's what we were up to. And I prayerfully consider these things and ask the Father what he wants me to do. And he says, well, keep going. This is fine. So we're going to keep going. All right? But I think this is a really important, thematically, this is really important of what we're doing here with Chag HaMatzot, with unleavened bread. Okay, because what do we just have? We just had the Passover last night. So this morning, theoretically, right, not theoretically, going back in history, they were actually exodusing. They were leaving Egypt. I think probably one of the biggest factors was whether they were leaving trusting what was going on. Did they feel like they were going to be safe? Did they feel like they were going to be okay? Could they trust this God that they kind of knew but they didn't know? I mean, yes, they were Israelites, but they had been slaves and disconnected from their Creator for quite a little while. And so trust is a big deal. So now we've been looking at the two aspects of trustworthiness, trusting Yah and being trustworthy in covenant keeping, right? So let's look at Numbers 14. I'm going to read the launching verse in verse 11. And Yahweh said to Moshe, how long shall I be scorned by these people? And how long shall I not be trusted by them with all the signs which I have done in their midst? we you know what? We read this, and which is why I did a teaching called, what are you thinking? You know the teaching? What are you thinking? Because I read this years ago, and I'm like, what are they thinking? He did all these signs and wonders. Why would they not trust him? Well, he does all that stuff for you. What do you not trust him? Why don't you trust him? Show of hands real quick. Has Yah done any miracles in your life? Every hand. He's done signs and wonders. So why don't you trust him? There's times when you don't trust him. One of the people brought out the idea that, they left with a high hand. They left we're leaving Egypt. Huh. Didn't take long till they were like, they're gonna kill us. And that, see, you feel great and you believe when he does these wonderful things for you. He does these miracles and does these wonders. But then what happens when he lets things go a little sideways and you have your baptism of fire? Listen to the teaching if you don't know what I'm talking about. There's one called baptism of fire, which is your little pop quiz. See, Israel got a pop quiz pretty quick. He said, gird yourselves up, have the Passover meal in the morning, take what you got to go and go. And guess what? They're all walking out. This is great. We're free. And then pop quiz. The Egyptians were behind them in the chariots. The water was in front of them. The mountains are on the sides. They had no place to go. Pop quiz. Okay? And what does he say? He says, be still and see the deliverance. In other words, not don't do anything. He said, calm down. I'm going to tell you what to do. He still told them to walk through the sea on dry land. He said, but in the meantime, calm down. Okay? And you guys will call us sometimes, and we have to say that. And we're like, will you calm the bleep down? Is bleep a bad word? You filled in your own bad words. That's the problem. All right. So, and you know me, I don't think there's any such thing anyway. So, but the thing is, he tells you, why don't you trust me? This is really, it's not that you're not calm because you have some emotional problem. That you don't trust. The trust is the problem, or the lack of trust. So look at this point, okay? At this point, and we'll understand what the point is. Do you know this section, what's going on here? We're going to go back and read it. This is where they spied the land, okay? And he's like, seriously? What do I need to do? He says, these people are scorning me. In other words, the scorning is rejecting. and pointing the finger and saying, he pulled us out here just to kill us. You know? Look, if you're called, if you believe that Abba's called you, he's popped your bubble, you're now seeing and receiving and hearing and experiencing truth, then why would you think that he did all that just to kill you? Because some of you start whining like, well, ever since I came into this, my life has been terrible. Your life was terrible before. Get over it. Come on, who are you lying to? Your life was so great before? Not if you're being honest. And so why are you blaming him? Don't be blaming him. Your life, you know what it is? You were used to the bad it was before. You were comfortable in the uncomfortable way your life was. So now you got this new thing and you're not used to it. Whatever challenge, like mom and dad are mad at you because of what you're choosing to do. All your church friends are all mad at you. I mean, you weren't used to that. That wasn't the normal suckiness of your life. Is that an actual phrase? I have no idea. Okay? And so you're flipping out. And he's like, but I handpicked you. Like I literally came over to you and I touched you and I opened your eyes. Why won't you trust that? Let's read what happened here. In chapter 13, it begins in verse 26. All right? And they went and came to Moshe and Aaron and all the congregation of the children of Israel in the wilderness of Paran at Kadesh, and they brought back word to them, to all the congregations, to show them the fruit of the land. So this is after they spied out the land, right? He sent them out, and they came back. This is now they're coming back. Everything's good up to this point. He picked his 12, sent them out, all right? Now, he said, and they reported to him and said, we went to the land where you sent us, and truly it flows with milk and honey, and this is the fruit. Now, if they had just closed their mouths right there, we'd have been great. See, this is where you guys have the same problem sometimes. Oh, Yah is good, Yah is good. Oh, praise Yah. And then something goes a little sideways and you forget all about that. Because this is the yeah, but. Yeah, you sent us, and yeah, it's flowing with milk and honey, and, this is the fruit and everything. Yeah, but. But the people who dwell in that land are strong, and the cities are walled and very great. And we saw the descendants of the Anakim there too, the giants. Oh my goodness. Now, this is what we have to kind of remember. When Yah called you, right, he drew you, right? He called you, right? None comes unless the Father draws. Why would you ever forget that he drew you? See, all of a sudden they're acting like they don't know he sent them. So if he sent them, why should it be a problem? It's like in vertical structure. If I give you something, you should never worry it's going to be a problem. Especially if you're on the staff or some other thing, because I gave it to you to do. I know it's going to work out fine. I wouldn't have given it to you. Or I also knew you could do it, or I wouldn't have given it to you. I also knew, and if it didn't go well, it could be fixed, or I wouldn't have given it to you. But you panic and you don't trust. And so here these people, they're already like, well, yeah, it's exactly like you said, but you forgot to tell us about the giants and the walls and the people are strong. Yah just destroyed Egypt. Really? You worried about all this? And he just parted the sea for you. What's the problem? What more? See, this is what I want for all of us. If we're going to hear the words good and trustworthy, serve him, or good, the trustworthy part, what's he got to trust you with first? Trusting him. He's got to trust that you will trust him. There may be too many words trust in the same sentence. But can he trust you to trust him? Because he is trustworthy. We talked about that last week, right? Or last teaching, a couple of days ago. He is trustworthy and true. But can he trust you to trust him? The very initial Israelites here are failing, at least most of them. He says, the Amalekites, verse 29, dwell in the land of the south, while the Hittites and the Jebusites and the Amorites dwell in the mountains, and the Canaanites dwell by the sea and along the banks. Did they think he was sending them to a barren, empty space? I mean, is that what he was thinking? And Caleb silenced the people before Moshe. So first of all, he walked up and he basically, did something to say, hey, knock it off. Quiet, okay? And he said, let us go up at once and take possession, for we are certainly able to overcome it. How in the world could he say that? Well, he was doing the logical thing. I don't know how in the world did the other guys say what they said. Yah said you could do it, go do it. And then you should be like, I don't know how it's going to work. I didn't know how we were going to get past that sea and the rock and the hard place and the Egyptians. But it's going to happen. How many of you finally have started to learn that when life gets a really kind of weird sideways, but if you trust it, somehow it'll work out? If you trust that Yah's got his hand in it, if you stay the course, it works out. How many people? Amen. Don't forget you just raised your hand. Remember that the next time, okay? Because I know we had a few people even during praise time. I think you got up there and said, yeah, things have gone from sideways to a whole lot better, and but you had to stay the course. And talking to you, I remember there's a few times you're like, I don't know. And I was like, hang in there, right? That's why you have a leadership. So you can go to someone and say, look, what did Moses even say to Joshua? And Joshua was one of the ones who got it, right? He said, be strong and of good courage. Even Joshua, he had to say that too. And he said it to him more than once. Now, so Caleb silences them and says, let us go up at once. What are you waiting for? It's great. He said, but the men who had gone up with him said, we are not able to go up against the people, for they are stronger than us. The message for all of you here is often he's going to put you in a position where it looks like the enemy is stronger. And in reality, they may be. But also in reality, they don't have him, you do. Okay? It depends on what you're using to measure stronger. Was Goliath stronger than David? Oh, you bet he was. He was gigantic compared to David. Literally, right? But David was stronger. Because David was in line with his Creator and had the backing of the Father, right? But if we're going to look at things from a physical point of view, yeah, David was definitely not as strong as Goliath. That's why Goliath laughed at him. It's like, kidding me? You send the scrawny kid out here? And he wasn't probably that scrawny, but still, he wasn't a big soldier, And so here he is out there. And David had the same spirit, by the way, that these guys had. He's like, somebody's got to stand up. Yah's not going to let this guy act like this and embarrass everybody. What's wrong with all you people? Why won't any of you stand up? I'll stand up. I'm not afraid. So continuing here. So the men are all whining about this, and they gave the children of Israel an evil report in verse 32. The better Hebrew there is slanderous. They slandered the Almighty by basically casting aspersions on what he had said to do. Like Yahweh sent them to do something they couldn't do. Can you see that's what they were doing? They're basically making it seem like they're convinced that Yahweh sent them to do something they could not do. You look at them and you're thinking, why would you do that? But he looks at you, why do you do that? Why do you act like he sent you to do something you can't do? How many months, every new moon, don't I always tell you guys, you can do it from right here where you're starting? Why? Because that's my belief. My belief is that he wouldn't call you to something you can't do. So why would you ever act like you can't do something he called you to do? But sometimes you start to have doubt and fear, and you panic. Very disappointing to him, because he wants to know, can he trust you to trust him? I don't know. See, I feel like I got one of Elder's little sayings now. Can he trust you to trust him? Okay? And I don't know if I could say anything more than that. That could be the whole message right there. You need to go home and pray and figure out if you could trust him. Can he trust you to trust him? So then, they gave the children of Israel an evil report of the land which they had spied out, saying, the land through which we have gone as spies is a land eating its inhabitants, and all the people whom we saw in it are men of great size. We saw there the Nephilim, the sons of Anak, and of the Nephilim, and we were like grasshoppers in our own eyes. Well, really, it was like saying we were to them like grasshoppers are to us. Okay? It's like if you look at a grasshopper, it looks so small. I said, well, that's how they looked at us, like we're these tiny little things. And so we were in their eyes, okay? Now bear in mind, not only is he wanting to know if he can trust you to trust him, but part of that trust is that you're not going to go and cause others not to trust him. Look at what happens in chapter 14. All the congregation lifted up their voices and cried, and the people wept all that night because they were listening to the 10. The slanderous report. See, I need you guys to finally, at some point, maybe now, let's make now be the point, where you're going to stop listening to everybody's running their mouths. Can we just do that finally? Why do you listen to everybody just running their mouth? Oh, but they said all these things about you. Well, so what? I mean, everybody likes to run their mouth. These people are running their mouth, and are they right or wrong? They're wrong. How many times do you see people in here run their mouth and they're wrong? All the time. So why do you listen? Now, Caleb wasn't running his mouth. Caleb said, he said it was great, let's go. The running the mouth thing is those who are casting aspersions, casting fear and doubt, attacking, putting down, and all of that stuff. Look, this is a personal journey in a group setting, right? So we know Philippians 2, it says you need to walk out your own salvation in fear and trembling, right? 2:12. Individual obligation, you need to do this. So if you are doing all that, and you also believe Ephesians 4 and verse 11 about these fivefold guys that are available and should be around for you to find to help you in the journey, which is what it says in verse 12, 13, and you feel like you have found one of those people, why do you let others shake you of that? Look, let's take it even simpler. Let's go back a few steps. You were Christian, you were worldly, you were Jewish, you were whatever you were nothing. Now you're coming into this. And then all these people, start attacking what you're doing and what your choices are and this ministry or that this or whatever they're doing, they're running their mouths. What's the matter? You don't trust your decision? He touched you. He opened your eyes. You were drawn. You found what you felt like was what you were looking for. You're excited about it. And meanwhile, you're like the parable of the sower of the seed who have no roots in there. Just blows you right out. But you can't be blown out by people that are jibber-jabbering if you're not listening to them. Look, if you hang around me long enough, you'll hear me on a very regular basis say things like, so what? It is what it is. Who cares? Like, well, who cares? Like what? So why does that bother you? Well, blah, 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 blah. Well, so what? But it's my brother, it's my mother, well, so what? Why does all of that matter? Because you got your emotions all in there, okay? Your emotions are driving everything. We had the verse the other day, Jeremiah 17:9. The heart can't be trusted. It's sick. It's wicked. Who can know it? In other words, your emotions is what it's saying, your own human emotions. It's not saying your heart is all jacked up and you have no value there, but it's what's coming out of it from your flesh. Is all those emotions, okay? So who can trust that? By the way, I'm going to take it to both sides of that. Have you been ever wrong, emotionally getting all upset about something and turned out it was okay and you shouldn't have been upset about it? Okay, let's go to the other side. Were you ever really super excited in love with something or someone only to find out that was a big mistake? Okay, so it could go either way. So the emotion's the problem. If it's just unrestricted, in other words, if it doesn't have any sort of guidance on it, it's just allowed to run, it's going to run you right into a ditch. You can't trust your emotions, which is why you should never make decisions in emotion. Never. Because you're going to make a bad decision more often than not. Which is, again, he wants you to trust him. He wants you to be making decisions. Caleb wasn't making an emotional decision. He's making a logical decision. Yahweh is the king of the universe. He just destroyed Egypt, brought us through the sea, told us to go and take the land. Let's go. The other guys, emotional decision. They saw the big people and they got scared. Come on, really? That's what you would say looking at these guys. Well, what about you? I'm going to say the same thing about some of the things you're all flipping out about. Come on, really? So I might even say this to you on the phone. I'd be like, really? And then you'd be like, what? It's like, what do you think you signed on for? Did you read the small print? I always say that jokingly because when I look at the book, it's all in the same size print. Okay? There's no small print. Didn't he say that you'll suffer as he suffered? Didn't he say that it was a blessing when you suffer for righteousness' sake? Why would he say that unless it was going to happen? He knew you'd suffer for these things. But the level of suffering is based on how you handle it emotionally. Okay? Do you think that Joshua and Caleb, it only mentions Caleb at this point, but Joshua we see sees the same thing. Do you think Caleb saw the Anakim and the walls and all that stuff? Of course he did. He just said, this is going to be kind of cool to see how it works. I believe that's kind of what he did. He doesn't say it in here, but I'm sure. He was like, man, this is going to be great. I have no idea how this is going to work. We are so overmatched. But we have him. So he was excited. Let's go. I want to see how this works. So the more jacked up your situation gets and the more messed up it is, and the more you don't know what to do, get excited. Man, I don't know. It's going to be amazing. Right? Hasn't it been? Think of all the ones that you've been through that it's already played out. Then why do you then next time forget all that? And you go through that panic all over again. Okay, I've said things maybe nobody else says out there, but I want to really hit that point again. Some of you need to realize you're at risk of not getting in for one reason. You will not come to trust him. Okay? And you don't believe him when he says you can do it. And that's going to, what's the unpardonable sin? I don't know. It's not that it's a sin. It's not growing up. When you're going to mature to the point where you see him correctly, therefore you react to everything around you correctly. Because I believe everything in the vertical structure that's done wrong is out of not seeing the person up of the line the right way. Okay? Children who don't see their parents right. Wives don't see their husbands right. Husbands don't see the leadership right. All the way up the line. Everybody that struggles with this ministry doesn't see me or Elder or Rabbi Tom correctly. If they did, they wouldn't have any struggles. Everybody in this book, you see them struggling with the leadership at the time. Either Moses, look at how they handled Moses. We think Moses was like one of the greatest of all people ever, and they're having a problem with him every other week. I can relate to that. I'm not claiming I'm him. I certainly can relate to, there are people that think that I'm one of the greatest things since sliced bread, and other people want to just give me grief every week. And I get it. It doesn't matter what I think I am. I try to do my best I can to be submitted to him. But the point is, you guys struggle because you won't see leadership correctly. You won't see your role correctly and the role above you correctly. Those are the two roles, right? Because some of the wives are like, well, my husband, well, then the husband's messing up because he has to see his role under and over. Everybody is in both directions. There's only one being that's only in one direction. That's the Father. Even the Son has someone above and everybody else below, right? Okay, so everybody has to deal with, are you handling your role properly, and are you submitted to trusting the role above you properly? And some of you are like, well, I don't have somebody that could, then get the right person to be under. If your husband's that bad, why are you still with him? Why are you whining? Men, if your wives are behaving whatever, well, because maybe you're not doing your job. Because you're doing your job, maybe a whole lot easier for them to do what they're supposed to do. Just throwing it out there. Because I got a lot of guys out there, not a lot, there's only a few of you, unfortunately, a few of you that are doing your job, and you know what? You guys don't have those problems because you're doing your job. That doesn't mean you never had them, but you learned to do your job. And so then the wives fell right into line because now they had somebody they could believe in, support, and trust. Okay? So guys, you need to stop demanding, you need to trust me, but you haven't done anything to be trustworthy. Here we have, Yahweh's done tons of things for them. One after the next, after the next, after the next, right? Men, Everybody in the vertical has to look at themselves as if they're Moses, as if they're Yahweh, as if they're Yeshua, because your role is to be that one that can be looked at and trusted to do what your role is. Okay? They all trusted that the Father, Yeshua trusted everything the Father gives him is true and right, and so he does it. We trust that Yeshua has everything that's true and right, so we do it. Husbands should be trusting that, and then they do, right? Wives, you should trust that your husband's gonna be right all the time. Why? Because he's doing his role right and he's trusting this way. But men, you don't. And which is why you're wrong all the time. And why your wives don't trust you. Because it doesn't prove out. Because they can't count on you. Look, I've talked about this many times from the podium here about the idea of the father role being like the hero. One of the reasons why my daughter thinks I'm a hero is not just because when she was little, I was a hero once or twice. I've always been that hero every time she needed it. Every time, okay? I was always there to be that role. Guys, if you're in whatever role you're in, you need to be there to be that role properly, okay? Whatever that is. Some of you are like, you tell us you got to work all the time. I work at least as much as all of you or more, so I don't want to hear it. But I make sure that my family gets time when they need it. They get the attention they need. I make sure that that's prioritized. I can be interrupted and reached, and that's what I've made my life so I could do that. Well, I can't do that with my jobs. Get a different job. Do a different thing. I don't know what to tell you. You're still slaves in Egypt. You know, if your boss can yank your chain, you're a slave. I don't know how else to put that to you. Do you know that jobs, where do you see people with jobs? Oh, I see slaves. Who has jobs? People working for Rome? Well, that's, again, working for Babylon, working for slaves, working for Pharaoh. Everybody else is working for themselves. They're fishermen, they're carpenters, they're shepherds, they're, farmers. We got too lazy to work for ourselves. It's just as easy to go get paid by somebody else, and then we get yanked around by their pulling on our chain, and we have to just do whatever they want us to do. And then you show that boss can't trust you, because then you steal their time, because you're sitting there during work like this on your phone. Or you're calling and talking to people, or you're sitting by the water cooler talking about, are you really a trustworthy employee? Do you really put in the hours and work? Or if I walk by, would I catch you slacking? See, I'm a tough boss. I expect everybody working all the time. I do. Because that's what I'm paying you to do. People might look at me and say, well, you do what you want. Yeah, but I'm the boss. That's kind of the point. I still make sure I do all the work, and I work more than all of them. But the point is, I can choose to do this, that, and the other thing because I'm the boss. And you've given all that up because you've given all your sovereignty up going and getting jobs. Oh, I don't know what to do. I didn't either. Figured it out. I went out there and decided I want to work for myself. I went and figured out how to do that. And guess what? You know what entrepreneurs do? See, you guys are not entrepreneurs if you haven't failed. You got to fail a whole bunch, you can be an entrepreneur. Okay? You're going to try things. They're not going to work. You're going to try things, they're not going to work. And you know what happens each time? You learn something. That's what the Israelites are supposed to do here. They're supposed to try things and learn, try things and learn. If they just trusted right off the bat, it would have worked great. But they didn't. Okay? So continuing here. So the people are panicking, they're crying and they're weeping all night long. And listen now, this is the brilliance of the people. Look in the mirror when I read this next section. Did you guys do this? Okay? And all the children of Israel grumbled against the leadership. Like they're the ones that decided to go into the land. They grumbled against Moshe and against Aaron, and all the congregation said to them, if only we had died in the land of Mitzrayim, or if only we had died in the... Come on, shut up. Check it. I should never have taught him that word. Hebrew for shut up, all right? So, probably the people in his house like it even less than I like hearing it. He's like, check it. All right. But seriously, this is what you guys do, though. You'll come and get counsel, and then you'll get mad at us because you don't like the counsel you got. And wait a minute, where do you think the counsel came from? Because if you came to get it from me, you went to the wrong place. If you came to get it from him through me, now you went to the right place. Okay? So if your approach is getting it from me, then what, do you just want my opinion as a human being? Or you want to know what Yah might have to say about something? And you're hoping that you picked an anointed appointed that is a conduit for that stuff, all right? But then once I give it to you, if you believe it's that, why aren't you trusting it? Because I got to tell you, Elder and I, more, like 90%, like more times than not, people do not do what we tell them to do when they ask us what to do. We say, well, then do this first, or do this, or do this. Now, we don't tell them like literally. We say like, for example, go make a budget if you're broke. We don't tell them like literally, do this, do this, do this. Say, go make a budget. And we have videos to tell you how to do it. Fine, go out, go make a budget. And then they come to us, did you make a budget? No. All right. Or they'll say yes, and it turns out the answer still was no. Because they lied. Because they got too lazy to do it right. Lots of things I tell people about their marriages, about their jobs, about their health, they will not take the guidance. This is what's happening all the time in here. And then the people get mad and twist, by the way, what we said. So when you hear these people mad at us, understand this is going to come across, all the people that don't like us are going to just say, oh, yeah. I believe, elders going to agree, that when people don't like whatever about us, that they're going to say things that we said that we did not say. Okay, he's sitting there doing this, okay? So don't just listen to people that are mad at us and say, well, Rabbi told me to do, no, but I didn't. So you don't know until you check and find out. Because I promise you, Elder's been accused of saying things, he's like, I never said that. I've been accused of saying, I said, I didn't say that either. And it's about things that were happening in council that we were both there. And I look at him like, did I say that? He goes, no. Okay, good. But they'll go around saying, well, Rabbi told me to do this. I never did any such thing. Well, Rabbi told me to, I never did any such thing. When you listen to people that are angry, they're going to skew what happened. So you might want to just talk to the source and find out what happened. Or realize it's none of your damn business. Elder didn't see that one coming. Okay? Because you'll go and get involved after the first stuff I said, and I really want you to hear the last thing I said. Most of these things, you should just be like, that's not my business. You had a problem, Rabbi, go talk to Rabbi. Okay? Why do you get sucked in? That's what happened here. So you guys wondering, why is he going off on the side? Because this is literally what's happened here. A couple of people got upset, 10 people out of 2 million. All right, 2 to 3 million Israelites. Think about it, 600,000 men over 20. Figure out how many women, children, and everybody under 20. That's got to be at least 2 to 3 million people, okay? And 10 guys throw the whole thing into a tailspin. Doesn't take a lot to wreck a congregation or to wreck any kind of group because they start running their mouth. The problem is not them. The problem is you listening to them, okay? These 10 had no power to really do anything if people wouldn't listen to them. Right? So you guys have a role to play. Don't listen. Why do you listen? You know why you listen sometimes? Because there's a little voice in the back of your head doubting that you believed what you initially believed. The first voice that told you you could make it, you start to doubt that. The first voice that said, hey, this is the anointed appointed I'm supposed to be under, then you doubt that. So where is your trust? I mean, why would you come all the way from all over the world to be here if you just thought this, what? Unless you thought this was really an anointed, appointed, leading a congregational thing for all of you to be here. Why would you travel that far? You could go to something that's just an anybody. Anywhere in the world you can go to an anybody. Right? Couldn't you? There's an anybody in every state, every town, every country, somewhere you can go to. So the biggest funny ones to me is the ones that move here. And less than a year, they're gone. It's like, well, why did you move here? Well, that was before I knew you. No, that was before you got to have a face-to-face where you found out your stuff with nonsense wasn't going to fly here. Okay? Because you've done that everywhere else you've gone, and they certainly let it go. They let it fly. They're not happening here. Okay? Look, I've got Jezebel repellent. It just bounced, you know. I got Jezebel armor. Because I've had a few ladies come to the congregation and try to push me around and influence me, and I go, no. And they go, boom, right off. Okay? And then they go and whine and tell everybody what a horrible, I hate women, I hate this. No, just not letting you do what you wanted to do. Okay? I got 37 daughters now in this group. They'll tell you I don't hate women. I make them safe. I take care and provide and make them safe. Okay? And I've had people leave saying they felt unsafe. Well, then you didn't understand me. Okay? Something went sideways. Because that shouldn't have been. But here, this is all happening because a few people, this is what Lashon Hara can do. This is literally Lashon Hara happening. This is what it looks like. So they're attacking Moses. And then they say, look, and you guys have to understand, you say the dumbest things like they do. Oh, they should have killed us here. Why did you just let us die? You guys say equally dumb things, okay? Especially when you start longing to go back to wherever you came from because whatever's going on here. Really? Was it that good? They were slaves. Oh, but we had leaks. You know, come here, buy a house, you'll have leaks. Okay? Something will go wrong. All right? But this is what's going on here. So they said to each other, listen to this. This is where you then see the people leave, they go looking for other groups and stuff. Or they set up their own groups. And they said to each other, let us appoint a leader and let us turn back to Mitzrayim. Now, let's go find somebody to lead us in the wrong direction back where we came from. After Yahweh had said, never are you to go back where you came from. Didn't he say that when they left Egypt? He said, you are not to return. So Moshe and Aaron said, good riddance with all of you. No, they fell on their faces before the assembly of the congregation. They felt sad for what the people were doing, you know. And Yehoshua, son of Nun, and Caleb, son of Yefuneh, who were among those who had spied out the land, tore their garments. There's the two of them together now. And they spoke to all the children of Israel, saying, the land we passed through to spy out is an exceedingly good land. Man, it's amazing. Look, they came, in verse 23 of chapter 13, they came and they brought a branch with one cluster of grapes on it. It took multiple people to carry the thing. How big a bunch of grapes was that? Oh my gosh. They had to carry it on a pole. This is a pretty good land, right? Okay, and then they also had pomegranates and figs, and I mean, this is great. So they spoke to the congregation and said, it's an exceedingly good land. If Yahweh has delighted in us, then he shall bring us into the land and give it to us. See, they understood where it came from above. A land which is flowing with milk and honey. 9. Again, the whole milk and honey thing is not necessarily literally about milk and honey. It's their idiomatic phrase for abundance. A land of overflowing abundance, okay? That's what they're trying to let you know. All right. Verse 9. He says, look, if Yahweh's with us, let's just go. Let's do this. He says, only do not rebel against Yahweh, nor fear the people of the land, for they are our bread. The defense is turned away from them, and Yahweh is with us. Do not fear them. You know what? I'm going to take this a step before that. Don't be afraid of the people inside the body. Because this started with the 10 inside. They feared what they said, and their influence, and their power. Then he said, because they were afraid of what was outside. And that's a failure of leadership, because these are supposed to be men of leadership that were sent, the 12 that were sent to represent the 12 tribes. Men of respect, men of reputation, losers. They showed the truth. You know what? When you go back to the baptism of fire teaching, right? The trials are what? They're the fires that show what's really there. These men had great reputations, but they hadn't been tested. So it was a false reputation, really. Like false meaning the reputation was real, that's what they had, but it was falsely received or earned because they hadn't really been tried and tested. That's when you really get to know, you know? Look, I want to tell all of you guys who are planning and hoping to get married someday, you won't get tested about your seriousness about that till you actually get married. Then we'll see how serious you were about wanting to be with that person forever. Okay, now yes, there are times when you realize you made a mistake, but I'm saying is, but if you didn't, that doesn't mean it's not going to be tough in the beginning. Every marriage that's been around for at least 10, 15, 20 years has been through it. I promise you, they've been through it. But they figured out how to do what they're supposed to do in it, okay? Or they're just miserable waiting on they don't know what to do, okay? But you have to go through the experience. And all you guys who are single, you don't know how to lead anybody. You know how to be a husband and be responsible for a woman and children and whatever else comes along with that. You got to figure it out while you're doing it. Then you get counsel. I don't know what I'm doing. Then you get counsel on what to do. Simple as that, okay? But then you have to be humble enough to receive that because you have to have somebody tell you, listen, you're not doing this thing right. You need to fix this and work on that and do this, which you hate doing, and this other thing, stop doing it, and, you know. And nobody wants to be told. But isn't that what Yahweh does here in the book? Tells them, you need to stop doing this and start doing this and do more of that and less of this or whatever, okay? Now, where were we? Okay, so he said, only do not, this is verse 9 again, only do not rebel against Yahweh nor fear the people of the land, for they are our bread. So do not fear them. All right? But all the congregation said to stone them with stones. Shut up! We don't want to hear it.
Check it!
That's right, check it. There you go. Thank you. Somebody else check it. All right? Man, that's PTSD back to nursery school. Oh, man. Our teacher's name was Rosetta, and she would go, check it! All right, anyway. Let's see. So where were we? All right, so Yahweh said to Moshe, all right, because people want to stone them with stones. Oh, then the esteem of Yahweh appeared in the tent of meeting before all the children. He's like, all right, enough of this nonsense. Yahweh shows up, everyone's like, uh-oh, you're in trouble. It's kind of like mom's having a problem with the kids, and all of a sudden dad shows up, which most of the time makes a difference. Some of you really drop the ball and it only gets worse. Because mom looks at you and you're just like, what do you want me to do? You handle it, you know? Dad should walk in and all the nonsense should end immediately, okay? Now, all right. Back to verse 10, right? So Yahweh appears. Then we get to that verse 11 we launched, right? Yahweh said to Moshe, how long shall I be scorned by these people? Now remember, this isn't the first time they said, oh, you should have left us in, Egypt and all this other stuff. He says, how long will I be scorned by these people? How long shall I not be trusted by them? With all the signs which I have done in their midst, let me smite them with pestilence and disinherit them, etc. And then Moses makes an argument in a case for why that shouldn't be, okay? And Moses is not winning an argument or losing an argument. Yahweh's just wanting to see what Moses thinks about the whole thing because he wants to know, did he get influenced by these people? Did Moses get influenced by the people? Is he having a trust problem? And Moses said, no, don't kill them. Your reputation is on the line. All these people are going to see that you brought them out of Egypt and just to kill them out here, He was testing Moses here because even the Jewish community at times will say, oh no, Moses was so righteous, he won the argument and convinced Yahweh not to kill them all. I don't buy that, okay? I think he was testing Moses. After this just happened, well, let me just make sure Moses didn't fall for any of this nonsense. Okay? Because if Moses did, it'd be easy for Moses to say, you know what, you're right, they're crazy, let's start again. Let's just wipe them all out, they deserve it. Okay? And he doesn't do that. Okay. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 9. Now this is the same account of the spying the land out, but it has a few extra little details. We're only going to do 2 verses here. Deuteronomy chapter 9, verse 23. But this is a recounting of some of that. And when Yahweh sent you from Kadesh Barnea, saying, go up and possess the land which I have given you, Then you rebelled against the mouth of Yahweh your Elohim, and you neither trusted him nor listened to his voice. Okay, so let's start there. Again, we've been making this argument that the idea of trusting him, we get that, but the voice part, when it says that you rebelled against his mouth, I believe that the mouth or the voice is the one that he chooses to speak on his behalf. Okay? That person is the voice, or that person is the mouth. And so what he's saying is, go up and possess the land. He said, but then you rebelled against the mouth, because Moses told him to do it, of Yahweh, your Elohim, and neither did you trust him, Yahweh, nor listen to his voice. Or say, no, you didn't trust Moses. You can say either one is the him. They put it in capital letters in a lot of Bibles, so you think it's talking about Yahweh. Could be. The thing is, you didn't trust the person I gave you to trust. So some of you still have that problem. Well, how do I know I could trust you? I don't know. How do they know they could trust Moses? Well, he led them out of Egypt. Well, I led you out of whatever I led you out of. Let me ask you a question for those of you that have been around long enough. Have the teachings that are his mouth, my mouth speaking his words, led you out of anything? Okay, all these hands go up. All right, well, there you go. So then it should be a level of trust starting to build there. All right? He says, you have been rebellious against Yahweh from the day that I knew you. Do you want that said of you? I don't want that said of me. I definitely don't want that said of me. So I would highly recommend that we understand that we should be really aware of how we're handling the spokesperson. Now, I'm not saying everybody standing in front of a mic is the mouth of Yahweh. I'm talking about Ephesians 4:11 people. Okay? Ephesians 4:11 people. I'll read it to you again so that we're clear, all right? In 4:11 it says, and he himself gave some as emissaries, prophets, evangelists, shepherds, and teachers. And you say, okay, so he put people in different roles. No, but these are specific ones. He says, these are for the perfecting, the bringing to perfection of the set apart ones, to the work of service, to the building up of the body of Messiah. And these people, their role is to be running and available to you until, verse 13, we all come to the unity of the belief and of the knowledge of the Son of Elohim, to a perfect man, filled with integrity, to the measure of the stature of the completeness of Messiah, so that we no longer are children, tossed around, borne about by every wind of teaching, etc. So these are not just anybody's. You believe it or you don't. And then you're like, wait, what makes you think you are? Nothing. I mean, I think through my experience that I might be one of these guys. I know I am. But you, I don't have to convince you. You got to convince you. You got to ask him to convince you whether I'm one of these or not. But if I am, I believe these guys, when you find them, fit into this stuff we were just reading in Numbers. In other words, and in Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy mentions the idea of the mouth or the voice. I mean, if you're sitting on waiting to hear him mouth as it says, panim panim with Moses, you're waiting for him to speak in your own head, go back to one of your Christian denominations where you think you're hearing voices in your head. Okay? That's not the structure from here. He anoints and appoints people to speak his words. Okay? And you guys can have all your issue with it or not. That's up to you. You're only hurting yourself, not hurting me. And if I'm not it, go find it. Why are you here then? You're wasting my time and yours. All right? I'm serious. I mean, I don't think you'd hear a pastor, rabbi, anybody say, leave, but leave. I mean, go. Not because I don't want you here. I want you to find this. And if you don't think I'm this, then go find it. It's not about me being if you don't listen to you just want to throw. No, I don't want to throw you out. It's not that. I want you to find this. I want you to find whoever it is that's going to be out there that you can trust as his mouth, as his voice. You're not going to get anywhere without that. Oh, but I have the Ruach and I don't need all that. Good. Then why do you ask questions? I never want to hear another question out of your mouth. If that's true, never ask anybody else another question. Otherwise, you're a liar. Okay? Because you only say it because you're trying to say, I don't need to listen to you. That's what you're trying to say. But you still have questions anyway. And don't tell me that any of you can say with any integrity that you've listened to any teaching and didn't learn something you never knew before. That he didn't make a distinction through me in that teaching that was like, oh, wow, that's good. I never thought of it that way. Oh, now I understand this better, whatever it is. Because that's him working out those things for you. But see, if you don't see me right, and you don't see the role right, and then you need to go find somebody who has that role. Because Paul, unless you want to throw him out, which some people, I guess, do, so I don't. And Paul is wrong then, because he's saying you need this until. We haven't hit the until, have we? Are we all in the unity, if it comes to the unity of the belief and the knowledge of the Son and to the complete measure and the stature of completeness of all that? Have we done that yet? Not even close. That means, at least according to Paul, these guys are around somewhere. Or one or two guys wearing multiple hats, okay? Because it doesn't say there have to be 5 different people for this 5-fold deal. There's times, like right now, I'm very much in the prophet role. I'm trying to smack you to get it and do it. I'm not teaching you anything. You know all this stuff already. When I do a tithing teaching, a Shabbat teaching, a holy day teaching on like how, what, when, where, and etc., that's being the teacher role. This is more the, what are you going to do to trust him? What a prophet role. I don't have to teach you that you're supposed to trust him. You should already know that. I want to know why you don't. I want you to know why you don't trust him. I want you to know why he can't trust you. Can he trust you? Because he wants to know if he can trust you to trust him. That's really the big deal. Can he do that? Go to 2 Kings. See if I can squeeze the rest of this in that I had planned. Let's see, 2 Kings. And we'll go to chapter 17. And in verse 13. Just 2 verses here. Okay? And Yahweh warned Israel and Yehudah through all of his prophets and every seer, saying, turn back from your evil ways and guard my commands and my laws according to all the Torah which I commanded your fathers and which I sent to you by my servants the prophets. Listen to the next verse, though. Now again, this is then, this was before then, and now. Same thing, right? He says, but they did not listen and hardened their necks like the necks of their fathers, who did not put their trust in Yahweh, their Elohim. But again, look at how he linked it, though. They didn't put their trust, as exemplified by not listening to servants and prophets. Servants and prophets. In other words, the ones he gives the words to speak to the people at that time. So are you going to listen to that or not? He said, they didn't listen. They hardened their hearts just like their fathers. Well, you're doing it just like your fathers. You can go back a lot more generations than were included in this verse. Okay, you got over 2,000 years in between this verse and now. A lot of generations in there. And we've all had the same problem. There are a bunch of us in the group, a small group amount in the group that are listening. There's a bunch of us that are not trusting. You talk about a remnant. I think we got in every group, you got a couple of Joshuas and Calebs and a bunch of everybody else is like everybody else whining and complaining. You want to be a Joshua and a Caleb? Then how do you treat those that are actually in the anointed appointed? Are you even going to find one and then believe that that's one? Are you going to actually submit and listen to his voice through that person? Some of you are thinking, wow, that sounds very dangerous and cultish. Yes, it does. And that's why it's been used so badly by people who were not actually anointed appointed, but were trying to impose that on you. Okay? I'm not imposing anything on you. I told you, if you don't think I'm it, you're free to go. And I won't be mad at you. You got to do it. Elder can tell you, we've had people leave, and I say that, go on your journey, do what you got to do. I don't get mad at him or anything, okay? And he sat there and watched me. He said, man, you're very gracious and nice about, because they have to do their journey, okay? It makes no difference. This is where the cultist thing comes in. The cultist person needs you to follow them. It makes 0 difference to me if you follow me or not, if you listen to what I say. It makes every difference to you whether or not you listen to me. It doesn't make any difference to me. I get 0 benefit from you listening or not, except that if you listen, I have less nonsense to deal with from time to time. But it really makes no difference. Do you understand that? I get no benefit. The control cultists, they get this worship of them. I don't want you worshiping me. I want you listening to him. I just happen to have a mouth and a voice that he's using. Or if you don't think so, that's fine. Then why would you listen? Well, I think you're entertaining and I like some of the things you say. Listen, you're wasting your time. You're not, where in here does it say to look for someone who's entertaining and you like some of what they say? Where is that? Okay? What he says is you're supposed to be listening to the anointeds and following everything they say. And it never says they have to be entertaining. That's just a bonus. Because you happen to get a goofball of a rabbi. What can I tell you? Who'll say just about anything. Because I also realize that helps to lighten it up when I'm smacking you and getting you to look at yourself right. So it has to be a little bit of that humor. That's maybe why you picked this hammer that has also a little tickle feather with it. So I smash you and then make you laugh a little bit. Okay? But all of that's useless if it's not going to get you to trust him. Are you going to trust him? Because that's where we struggle. Look at the context here. I'll read a couple of verses. I want to go back to verse 6. Okay? So in verse 6, it says, in the 9th year of Hoshea, the sovereign of Asher captured Shomron and exiled Israel. So this is what's happening to them. They just got captured and exiled and settled them in Halach and Chavor and the river of Gazan and the cities of the Medes. Now this came to be because the children of Israel had sinned against Yahweh, their Elohim, who had brought them out of the land of Mitzrayim from under the hand of the Pharaoh, the sovereign of Mitzrayim, and feared other mighty ones, and walked in the laws of all the Gentiles whom Yahweh had dispossessed. See, the Israelites did what they weren't supposed to do. He said, had dispossessed from before the children of Israel, and of the sovereigns of Israel they had made them. That they had made. And the children of Israel secretly did against Yahweh, their Elohim, matters that were not right. They did it in secret. That's so cute. They thought that it was in secret. Isn't that ridiculous? How many things do you do that you think are in secret? That's so dumb. There's nothing hidden from him. And they built for themselves high places in all their cities, from the watchtower unto the walled city, and set up for themselves pillars and asherim on every high hill and under every green tree. And they burned incense there on all the high places like the Gentiles, whom Yahweh had removed from their presence. And they did evil matters to provoke Yahweh. Okay? And they served the idols which Yahweh had said to them, do not do this. And Yahweh had warned them. Okay, so that's where we're finished with that. He's saying, look, you got thrown into exile because I sent you all these guys and you ignored them and you did what the Gentiles do. Mostly you did what you wanted to do. Especially what you saw them doing and so you wanted to do. On a regular basis, I get to watch things and I go, I guess they don't get it. Because people come to me with things that they see. I don't see them because I don't bother to waste my time going to things like Facebook or whatever. But people say, oh, did you see so-and-so posted pictures of themselves doing this, this, and this on Shabbat? Okay, that's dumb. Why are you doing that? Not just that they posted it, but it's clear they were doing it on Shabbat. And so, first of all, you're double dumb. Because why would you do it on Shabbat? And then why would you post it? And then you show up at Sabbath services the next week like we don't know. You're dumb. Okay? I think he's only going to have some smart people in the kingdom. And I mean smart, like not book smart, like smart enough to know that not listening and then bragging about it in public like on Facebook is dumb. Okay? That's just plain stupid. And you guys, by the way, also, can you be smart enough that if you did something Friday, why are you busy, have the free time or whatever to post it Saturday on Facebook, even though you did it Friday? You can't wait till Sunday? You can't wait till sundown? You got to post it in the middle of the day. The timestamp's right on it. It said you posted it at 11 or 12 or whatever in the afternoon. And then it looks like you did it on Saturday. Then when I call you out on it, which I've done a few times, you say, oh, no, we did that Friday. Then why are you posting it Saturday? Is it really that addictive that you cannot wait till Sunday to post something? Do you know I haven't posted anything in years and years and years and years and years? Do you ever notice that? I post nothing. Because I don't need everybody to know what I'm doing. I'm enjoying what I'm doing with whoever I'm with, and that's all they need to know. Why do I need to tell you about it? I don't get that obsession that you guys have, you know. I remember at the beginning of Facebook, people say, oh, well, I'm going out to the store now. Oh, I went to the beach. Oh, and then they come home and their house is empty because they told everybody where they were. That happened. That happened. People tell them, oh, I'm going here and I'm going here, and then they know the house is empty. So they go and they get robbed. So what is the obsession with sharing all that with people? But here, because they were thinking they're doing stuff and nobody knows, he says, look, I sent you the prophets. I had the teacher screaming at you from the microphone. But you ignored it. You ignored it. And I know you're not listening. I know you don't listen to the announcements for sure at times, because people ask me things like, when's unleavened bread? Or even during this thing, when's free day? When's family day? You have a schedule. It's been posted for 6 or 8 months. Okay, posted like in November. Okay, so it's all available to you. Some of you are going to ask me 50 times between now and Shavuot when Shavuot is. Okay? Because you're too lazy to look at it and keep the count every day. But you should know. But you don't. And so, are you trusting him? Are you trustworthy enough to trust him? Can he trust you to trust him? I don't know. I guess we're going to finish this out. I can still do my last reference. Go to Psalm 78, which is actually going to complete the section I wanted the section of my notes. Well, at least the list of verses I have in my notes. Psalm 78 and verse 21. Therefore Yahweh heard and was wroth, so fire was kindled against Yaakov, and the displeasure also came up against Israel, because they did not believe in Elohim, neither did they trust in his deliverance. Neither did they trust in his deliverance. Let's get the context. Go to verse 1 so we can see what's going on here. My people, give ear to my Torah, incline your ears to the words of my mouth. I open my mouth in a parable, I utter riddles of old, which we have heard and known, for our fathers have related them to us. Oh, he says, my people give ear to my Torah. How are you supposed to hear that? Somebody has to be speaking it. Is he the one speaking it? No. He's speaking it through somebody, but he's not the actual one speaking it. David speaking, Moses is speaking, Isaiah is speaking, right? Jeremiah is speaking, Paul speaking. Other people are actually physical beings are speaking his words. He says, our fathers have related these things to us. We do not hide from their children, relating to the generation to come the praise of Yahweh, and his strength and his wonders which he had done. For he raised a witness in Yaakov and set a Torah in Israel, which he commanded our fathers to teach them to their children, that it might be known to a generation to come, to children who would be born, to rise up and relate them to their children, and place their trust in Elohim, and not to forget the works of Elohim, but watch over his commands. See the problem? Not to be like their fathers, a stubborn and rebellious generation, a generation which did not prepare its heart, whose spirit was not steadfast to El. You see the problem goes, maybe you have to go back to the heart of the matter, because it says here the problem is that the people were not prepared in their heart. They haven't prepared their hearts. See, on some level, you get excited about wanting truth. Right? Every one of you ended up in this journey at some point because you wanted the truth, right? You got tired of being lied to, you discovered you'd been lied to, so you wanted to find the truth. But was your heart prepared to receive it? Some of you, the answer is not exactly, because you struggle in the receiving part, even though it's what you wanted. You wanted it, though, but can you receive it? It says that it can only be received by a heart that's prepared. So what does prepared mean? You got to be ready for, it could be any form it comes in, shouldn't matter. You got to be prepared for that. I can take it in whatever form it comes. I don't care how palatable it is. In other words, you have to be prepared. See, if you're only prepared for it to come in the form you want, you're not prepared. I want it to look like this, this, and this, and if it's not, well, I'm not ready for it. And then it comes, and it's not like you wanted it, and now you don't know what to do with it, because it's not in the form you wanted. And so now what do? So you got to be prepared. You have to prepare your heart. You have to prepare your heart. Because remember, it said back in verse 21, 22, it said, they did not believe in Elohim, verse 22, neither did they trust his deliverance. Trust in his deliverance. In other words, trust that he would deliver them. Also, trust that when he did deliver them, that they could then go forward. He didn't deliver them to die by delivering them, like, for example, out of Pharaoh's hands to die in the wilderness. Okay? He didn't deliver you out of whatever junk you were in before, just to end up in worse junk. He delivered you to go through a process of heading into the reality that is his reality, not the false delusion that's the world's reality. Okay? We have to embrace that. We have to embrace that. And we have to prepare our hearts to receive that. All right? All right, let's go before the Father. Father, we come before you, and Father, we are so desiring to truly get our emotions under control and to see you as you are and your anointed as they are, and be prepared in our heart to receive from you through them. Father, we want to be those that you could trust to trust you. Those that would fully and completely have full emunah, belief and trust in you, and that we could trust you and you can trust us. And we'll talk about, for all of you, we'll talk about more some of the things you need to be trustworthy in one of the next teachings. But the point is, he needs to be able to trust us to trust him. And we demonstrate that, as we've seen in Scripture, through observing his commands. So Father, help us to have the strength to do the internal work, the looking in the mirror work that is necessary to prepare our hearts to receive what you have for us. To get us out of the way, to not be influenced by the Lashon Hara of other people, as the Israelites were when they came out from spying the land. No longer giving ear to the blah, blah, blah of everybody who's throwing all that negative nonsense out there. Just tell them, I'm not interested. All right, I'm not interested. Take that somewhere else. Oh, but you need to know. You don't know about rabbi. You don't know about elder. You don't know about... that's fine. I know what I need to know. You can go take that somewhere else. Okay? Everybody of any value in Scripture had people talking about him in a negative way. Every one of them. Your whole belief system is talked about negatively by lots of people. Just the fact that you want to have some mixture of the kind of Jewish Torah observant thing with the kind of Christian Messiah thing, well, actually, all of it's one thing. You know that they don't. So they get mad at you. Why are you mixing things that don't mix? Because you didn't understand it. It's the problem, not me. I'm not the problem. It's your understanding of it's the problem. So, Father, help us to have that strength, to till our ground, to be good ground, to receive and get deep roots that nobody can huff and puff and blow us out. So, Father, we come to you now wanting more and more to hear the words, good, well done, you good and trustworthy servant. Come and enter in the joy of your master. And so we realize more and more what it means to be trustworthy. So help us to truly embrace that so we can do what needs to be done to be trustworthy. Father, we thank you, we praise you, and give you all glory and honor in the name of all names, Yeshua our Messiah. Amen. Amen.